There's a couple more things I want to try here. There's duck breast and something he calls pork butter. What do I do? What do I do?
In the USA, nearly all animal protein consumption comes from beef.
That smells like Christmas morning.
Pork.
What kind of stuff?
And chicken.
Oh my God. He said the full chicken might be too much, but I don't think so.
You can do a lot with those three, but I say it's not enough. Today I'm on a mission to uncover this country's small but growing exotic meat addiction.
Oh shoot, there's a deer.
There's a big one right over there, huh?
I'm traveling to Texas, where you can find ranchers trading meat you never knew existed in the USA.
So I know later today we're gonna be trying antelope, raw.
I'm also sinking my teeth into the world of aged meats, like this. A cut that's been aging for over 2 years.
Oh, the smell, what is it?
It all starts right here.
Steve, here we are. We're doing it.
Made it.
Today, I'm with Chef Steve McHughes. He's the founder of the restaurant Cured, an upscale joint with some exotic offerings you might not expect to find at a high-end restaurant. Some of his more notable menu items start here. And this is no ordinary ranch.
For chefs, this is like a mecca of sorts. It's a very famous place where we get gorgeous wild boar, venison, and quail.
In these 800 acres of natural rolling terrain, the animals roam freely. They eat what they want. They go where they want. They're undisturbed and nearly impossible to round up for filming.
Oh shoot, there's a deer.
Unless you bump into them at just the right moment.
It looks brawny and tough. It's kind of staring us down like we're the ones who are supposed to leave.
In a state that ranks first in the number of farms and ranches, Broken Arrow stands out for a reason. This is where the local exotic meat industry began, and no one can tell that story better than Chris Hughes, the second-generation owner of this ranch.
Well, hey there.
Hi there.
It's my interview style. Did you grow up here?
I did grow up here.
It's really an ideal place. Where's this place start?
My parents bought it back in '77. Kind of semi-retired, basically looked for the next phase of his life out here.
Chris's father, Mike Hughes, recognized the large numbers of exotic species overgrazing ranch lands in Texas. This is unsustainable for both the environment and the animals. So he worked with federal agencies to develop the first laws that allowed exotic meat trading.
How many different species do you have here?
Out here on the ranch, we have the whitetail, axis deer, the sika, the silk, which are sika and elk crossed together, and the fallow deer. But we don't harvest just on our property. We work with about 30 different ranches around the state that have an overpopulation of deer. So we're actually going out doing population management.
Today, Chris and his team harvest on over 1 million combined acres and offer a long list of game meat products, including black buck antelope and our first course today, the Guy Antelope.
What we're gonna do today with this is make a harissa.
Harissa is often compared to steak tartare, which means this antelope meat will be eaten raw.
It ain't no big deal.
So what we have here is a antelope leg fillet. As a working muscle, it's got more flavor than a loin. We're gonna chop this up real small. It's gonna be a nice, flavorful, tender bit.
This recipe is the result of the Spanish, Mexican, and German influence in Texas.
How did it come to be that people here locally could eat antelope and eat it legally? I mean, I'm from Minnesota. If you shoot a deer, you can't even sell that meat.
And the difference comes to native species versus non-native species. Back in the 1930s, ranchers started bringing in animals from Africa, Asia, Middle East. Now there's about 230 different species of non-native animals roaming around Texas. Because they're not native, they're classified as livestock.
The Guy Antelope we're about to try originated in India. Antelope meat is loved for its mild flavor and its extremely low fat content.
Got it completely chopped down. Just go ahead and add a little bit of the salt, a little bit of the pepper, mix it in.
Chris continues with shallots, jalapeños, and a generous portion of queso fresco for a little Mexican flair. Finish with wild chili pequin oil and lime juice. The acid from the lime is supposed to kill any bacteria and make it safe to eat. I hope it works.
Gentlemen, this looks amazing.
Thanks.
Hey, we have beer.
Absolutely.
Look at that. Cheers.
I meant to cheers, but
Yeah.
okay, we can cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Let's try it out. We got spoons
Yep.
and we have Ritz crackers.
crackers.
So how do you know that your lime is high powered enough to kill all the bacteria?
Well, we're gonna find out tomorrow.
Oh yeah. That's a real dynamic taste. It starts real gentle, and there's some fresh aromatic herbs, nice seasoning, and then the heat just creeps up after.
You can tell there's different chilies in there because it's hitting different parts of your mouth.
Traditionally, this is made with the American cheese or cheddar cheese, but I like a little bit of the queso fresco because it's a little more saltiness, and that antelope, being so lean, needs that salt to help carry everything through.
The cheese doesn't seem like it is out of place at all. And you know, the Ritz cracker, it can be in a Lunchable, and it can also hold this rare Indian creature that we're eating raw.
You've got an argument on Ritz versus saltine.
Should people argue? Saltines are awful. That's hospital food.
Wild game dining is not relegated to hunters and countryside folk. In fact, 95% of Broken Arrow Ranch's customers are fine dining destinations, over 100 restaurants nationwide. The meat is cherished for its complex wild flavor that can't be replicated on a farm or a feedlot. But to preserve that flavor, you must harvest. Harvesting here brings together elements of hunting and large-scale meat processing. Imagine a whole butchery, from kill to chill, packed into a trailer. This is a mobile processing unit. It's essential for what ranchers call field harvesting.
We don't capture the animals. We take our mobile processing trailer out to the ranch looking for animals to harvest.
Let me paraphrase. They just shoot them.
We're shooting them at distances from 50 to 200 yards away. The animal's out in the field, and then next thing you know, it's lights out.
Chris takes his rolling butchery to other ranching partners with large exotic animal populations. The animals get to roam free, and we get one of the most unique dining experiences you'll find in this country, like this.
Axis venison, rack of ribs.
Some folks avoid venison because it can be so dry, but maybe those people just weren't treating it right.
Start off with a little bit of olive oil on both sides. It's a very lean meat, so you need a little bit of that oil to kind of help all the seasonings stick. Pretty healthy dose of salt because it doesn't have fat. It needs a lot of salt to help carry the flavors.
Next, Chris gives a twist of flavor with some pepper, chili powder, and to my surprise, cacao powder and cinnamon.
So this is a very mild flavored venison, very, very sweet, with just a little bit of gaminess. So that gaminess is going to play nice with kind of the earthiness of the chili powder, the bitterness of the chocolate powder, and the cinnamon just bringing a little bit of sweet to the party as well.
Time to heat it up. The rack of ribs is grilled until it reaches a nice, mouth-watering brown hue. For an extra hit of flavor, a smattering of cilantro cream sauce.
I've had a lot of ribs. Wait, no. I've only had pork ribs and beef ribs and goat and lamb and fish.
So this is actually the eye of the loin. It runs down the back and then some of the ribs. It's going to be a very mild flavored venison. It's not going to be super gamey, but you're going to have just a little touch of game on the bottom of the flavor profile.
Let's try it out. This is remarkable. It's so soft and tender and easy to chew through. When you look at the raw form of these ribs, you don't see any fat striations at all, but it's so tender.
And this is from the axis deer, actually, and these are both from India, tropical species. That's why they're all so lean.
Are they gonna be together again?
Together again at the table.
Really good.
That's the best part right there. A lot of people will like to French take all this stuff off,
Yeah.
but I think that's just a sin.
It has a little bit of gaminess, but just a hint. And it's a unique type of gaminess I've not experienced in any other animal. It's hard to put my finger on it, but it's really enjoyable.
Exquisite flavors and even more remarkable texture. To achieve this level of tenderness, the meat undergoes a dry aging process. Dry aging means it's hung up in a temperature and humidity controlled room for a given duration.
The goal is really tendernization and developing those flavors, as you're allowing the enzymes to work in that muscle, break down that connective tissue that's going to make that meat that tender.
I thought you were gonna talk for 10 more seconds. Hold on.
When it comes to aging, Steve is a virtuoso. At his restaurant, MCHUGH, he dry ages a range of proteins from 2 days to 2 years.
So I think we should head there next, and you could give me a little bit of a tour.
Sounds great.
You have to stay here. There's not room in the car. I'm sorry.
MCHUGH. It took 14 months to turn this space inside the 100-year-old Pearls Administration Building into this sleek fine dining restaurant you see now.
The name MCHUGH. Can you tell me a little bit about the meaning behind that?
We wanted to do a lot of curing. We wanted to purchase whole animals to help our ranchers, help our farmers. And just very time, I was coming off of treatment for lymphoma. And a friend of mine said, hey, you should call it cured. It really rung true.
When you step foot through their front door, you're immediately greeted by a glass refrigerator housing numerous cuts of meat at various periods in their dry aging journey.
A pleasure to finally be in your restaurant. That nature stuff was great, but I prefer air conditioning. So this is your dry aging closet. What temperature do you keep this at?
About 60 degrees.
That's like what I sleep at.
So temperature will vary, yes. The colder the case will be, the longer it's going to take to cure, because everything's based on weight. We will adjust this based on what's going on outside, because our compressor for this thing is pulling air outside and pushing it in. So certain times of the year, we might adjust it down if it's super hot outside. If it's super cold outside, we adjust it up.
The practice of curing and aging meat is as old as civilization. Dry aging is intended to transform texture and flavor, but curing involves salt or nitrates that preserve the meat for a long time. Here, Steve plays with both techniques, and he creates some real jaw-dropping works.
You know, as I open it, you can smell the good bacteria, funk that we associate with charcuterie.
Why is he called good bacteria? Why do you have to put good in front of it?
So when I say good bacteria, I'm looking for these white molds. Anything that's green or black or blue, that's bad. We want beneficial molds that are going to help with the curing process, get these things losing moisture and converting those fats.
Have you ever had too much bad bacteria on here? What do you do in that case?
If you get ahead of it, you can always clean it with a little grain alcohol or vodka. If you have a bunch of it, you're better off just throwing it out and starting over.
I usually clean my insides with vodka. Does it work the same?
Yeah, very much.
For safety reasons, the outer layer is removed before preparing and serving any of these dry-aged products. If you can't commit to just one cut, you can try a load, all at once with a charcuterie board.
The charcuterie board, as I call it, the chart board. Oh, that doesn't sound good at all. Let's stick with charcuterie.
Imagine a cheese board. Now replace the cheese with paper-thin slices of various dry-aged meats.
There's so many different interesting foods on this plate. Here, this is 2-year-old ham. We're gonna build up to that. Ooh. Over here, this is the pork belly.
The 9-month aged pork belly that I was holding earlier.
It is like a brick. You could lay enough of these down and make a house.
Now sliced up into this.
It's just like a fat ribbon. It's greasy. It smells like an old classroom. It's very satisfying. The fat kind of just melts as you chew it, so it's breaking down, but just the heat of your mouth alone starts to break it down too, and the fat just coats your mouth. That's a really interesting one. Right here, this is the bresaola.
Bresaola, originating in Italy, is made from salted beef that's been aged for 30 to 45 days.
This is what my wife thinks my heart looks like.
One of my favorite things to cure is beef. Beef structurally is so different because pork has all its fat around its muscles, right? Beef has its intramuscular fat inside, and so it actually cures so much quicker, creates this really beautiful pellicle on the outside, but inside it's really soft.
That's delicious. There's equal parts meaty, fatty, and super salty. He said it was beautiful. I think he looks at it and he thinks about this taste. It tastes amazing. There's a couple more things I want to try here. There's duck breast and something he calls pork butter. Oh my God, imagine giving this to your 5-year-old and you're like, it's whipped cream. It's not whipped cream. What do I do? What do I do? I need a grape. That is so intense.
Pork butter. It's like lard, but better, I guess. Pork fat is rendered and whipped until it reaches the fluffiness of whipped cream.
Let me try putting it on a piece of toast, and let me even try mixing it with one of their sweet jams. Love it. When you mix it with something sweet, it mellows out the flavors. It's really nice, actually. It's still rich, but it blends with everything else. Don't eat it plain. You're not supposed to eat regular butter plain. I do, but you're not supposed to.
Here, duck breast. I've had duck breast that's been dry aged for 3 weeks.
Oh, smell that, smell that.
Oh, yes. This is like stinky
Here we
tofu.
go.
But this has only been aged for 12 hours.
For me, I don't usually call that aging. I would call it like I forgot to put it in the refrigerator or something like that.
After this very brief aging period, the breast is smoked for 2 hours and sliced into what they call a duck ham.
It's really soft. I thought for a second that this was like raw duck breast or something because it has that kind of opaque, raw-looking chicken breast look to it. Wow, regardless of how it looks, the taste is just like a really soft, oily, delicious ham. Like the best ham you've ever had. I'm building up to this right here, the pig that is 2 years old. This meat collectively could be older than my YouTube channel.
Looking at this almost transparent pork shaving, no one would think it started out like this.
Ooh, look at that. That is quite an ass. So this is heavy. All the flexibility's gone out of it. It's just super tight and dense.
And these pigs, when they come in, they're anywhere between 280 to 360 pounds for the entire animal. To lose 30% of that weight, it takes at least 12 months, if not longer. But we like to go 2 years with the hams and get a really hard product, and then we slice by hand.
Oh, the smell. What is it? It's a little gamey. It smells like an old wood barn, a sweater, and chick feed at the same time. That's a pig with character. Not soft and tender, much more crunchy. And instead of oily, it's kind of a sticky residue left in your mouth. At the very, very back, there's a little bit of a punky flavor to it. But overall, I like it. I think it's a very good story. If you brought someone here, you had them try the pig, just don't even tell them what it is, and then mention to them that it's 2-year-old meat that's not in a can.
Getting a little taste is nice, but I'm ready to really sink my teeth into our final course, dry-aged Wagyu ribeye.
These are the beautiful ribeyes from the Wagyu cattle. And these, we will slice them after 45 days, cut them into steaks and grill them.
This feels so weird. So how old is this one?
That's pretty close to 45, actually. I think that one's ready to be cut.
He starts by removing the tough, hard, dehydrated outer layer.
I like 45. I feel like you still eat and chews like a steak and you've got some good funk, but it's not like eating a big old gorgonzola steak.
Next, the meat is separated from the bones.
This is Wagyu?
Yes.
Like from Japan?
American Wagyu, so it's raised here in Texas.
Ah, there's no way they would let that DNA get out of the country.
Once the cut is retrieved from the rack, it's seasoned lightly with salt and pepper, and it hits the pan. Seared until it's formed a crust. Gently elevate the flavor with thyme, rosemary, and a hearty dose of butter. Continue cooking until medium rare.
Oh yeah, this is looking good. Ooh, very simple, straightforward preparation. Let me take a bite. It has so much flavor. Just from the beef itself, a little bit of salt to bring out even more flavor, and that's all you need. It's simple, it's straightforward, and it's the type of steak where you would feel zero temptation to put any sauce on it. The color is just different. The consistency is just different from steaks that haven't been dry aged. This is pure fat, that's why the color is a little different. Here's the protein, and you can see that's pretty much rare to medium rare. But what's interesting is usually a rare steak can be kind of gummy because it just doesn't have any body to it. But when you dry age it, that makes all the difference. It's like the meat becomes a little bit more dense, but not tough. It's like how eating an abalone, just a different type of texture, but a very satisfying texture. I'm curious if you took real Japanese Wagyu and tried to dry age it, what would happen? But the reality is, what a lot of people don't know is that what they're eating in Japan is never gonna make its way here in the form of live cattle. Eventually, if they want real Wagyu in the USA, they're gonna have to take a steak and do some Jurassic Park stuff to it and recreate a beefosaur. America is just so obsessed with chicken, pork, beef, but there's so much more that can be done with other types of animals, which we saw earlier today, and that includes dry aging. I highly recommend, try it, push your palate. This was incredible. The whole day was incredible. For me, it's an honor to hang out with these gentlemen here in Texas, to learn a little bit more about Texas and how things work here, and to get to try even more of their food. Best Ever Food Review Show is a small team of independent creators, and everything we do here works because of you guys. Click the link in our description to join our Patreon and receive exclusive benefits. A peace.
It's a cross between a sika and an elk.
Right, like a selk.
This is good clean water.
Should we do a tasting scene? Well, let me wash my hand downstream. And then you go upstream. All right, there's some bugs in there. That's protein. So I understand a ranch that has a bunch of cattle, and then it's time to slaughter the cattle. You ring a bell or something. They're like, oh, it's dinner time. And then you're like, sorry, it's our dinner time.
Right. So this is actually from India.
Do you think maybe it started in Africa and moved to India?
Well, it depends on your biblical viewpoint.
Oh, like it might have taken a boat versus a plane? Did you learn a lot today? I did. I learned that you could eat an antelope in Texas. I learned that deer ribs can be incredibly delicious and tender and not dry. I was hoping I would learn something about humanity and bringing people together. Oh no, I had a really good steak at the end too. I hope you guys learned a lot too. But as for me, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Peace. I only walked to here.